Hi again. I'm back at Field's End today. Absolutely astonishing, really. There were no cars in the visitors' car park, and on the lake itself there's one guy who's obviously from the caravan site or from the lodges, and there's one chair reserving a place, and that's it. I've never seen this lake so quiet at this time of the year. I've got my little spot that I rather like. It's at the end of the reed bed. I fish the corner quite often because this spot's often taken, but I like this one, as I've explained before, because if you get a fish here you can steer it into open water, whereas in the corner swim, more often than not, particularly the bigger fish, go straight into the reeds and you can't really get any purchase on them because you're too far back, and basically the reeds are everywhere. So yeah, I've thrown a few maggots in. I'm just about to plumb up and we'll see how we go. I'd desperately like to catch some crucian carp. My appetite was whetted last time by a guy saying he had caught a couple, but I must admit I haven't caught any here for years, so fingers crossed. Hopefully I may get a crucian. I'm going to start off fishing fairly light, which is a bit dangerous here. See how we go. If I get broken by carp, then I'll probably have to step up, but I'm going to start off fairly light and on maggot and perhaps a bit of small bread flake, and see if I can attract some of those elusive crucians. So let's get going. Okay, I'm not sure. I've got the hook on here that I had at Rookery Waters the other week. I think it's probably a 16 on 3.5 pound line, so a bit risky here, but we'll give it a go. I threw some maggots in when I arrived, and we'll see what happens. As I say, I can't believe how quiet this place is. I've never seen it like this. Not this time of the year, anyway. It's just amazing, really. So there's a chair over on the far bank there, and there's a car parked on the bank. They don't usually let the cars come on these days, so that's interesting in itself. And there's one guy over there fishing, just sort of where I'm looking now. And that's it. There's just nobody else here. And at the moment there's no wind, which is good. Something's interested. Probably a roach, the way the float's behaving. I like this swim, as I said in the intro, because there's a chance of pulling the fish away from the reeds when you hit one. If it's a really big one, of course, you've got no chance at all, but whereas in the corner where I was fishing last time, you really haven't got much chance of getting the fish out the reeds. You know what, I haven't set up my landing net. That was stupid, wasn't it? But I think it's swingable, so a bit big but swingable. Yeah. That's a basic error, not to set up one's landing net. Yeah, it's quite a nice roach, really. Yeah, okay, back you up. The geese are doing well today. Right, I'm just going to flick off the video while I go and set up my landing net. The reason I didn't set it up is, I mentioned in an earlier video that I've got this little adapter that allows me to quick release my smaller net, and I keep forgetting to take it off when I bring the bigger net, so I had to do that this morning, and then I forgot to put the net on. Anyway, I'll be back. One roach, one quite nice roach, so it's quite a good start. Right, we're back in business and we got the landing net set up. Yeah. basic mistake, that. If I've got into something decent, that would have been curtains. So, yeah. It's quite a nice roach, that first roach. Certainly a bit bigger than the little ones I was getting at Clay Pit on my last trip. I think this is another roach by the, yeah, again, not too bad. Wait. It's hooked a bit cleaner that time. Yeah. I've adjusted this camera, this head cam a bit, so it's pointing down a bit more. I noticed in the last video you couldn't always see what was going on down at my hands when I was doing things. I think the problem is it tends to move on its own sometimes and works its way back up again. It's got a life of its own. But hopefully you'll see a bit more. The problem is, as I've probably mentioned before, that while you're using it you can actually see what you're filming. So, but it's got a fairly wide angle lens on it, so you can sort of have it set up slightly wrong and still not miss things. Right, well, this is good fun to start with. I have to stand up to throw the maggots in. I have to get my catapult out because, in fact, I'll do that next cast because it's all a bit too far to throw, really. So we'll have our cast, and then if we get another fish after that, I'll get the catapult. See, the maggots I'm throwing out aren't quite getting that far. Way straight away. Yeah, there's a few roach down there today, aren't there? The other thing here is I'm much further away from where I'm catching the fish, whereas in that corner I was more or less on top of them, and so it doesn't spook them quite as easy. And this one's gone down as well. Really taking it well. Okay. There you go. Okay. Let's show the people. Right, I'm going to get my catapult. Got a few more maggots a bit further out. It's probably looked quite a long way away to you on this camera, but there's a grebe and its chick. When I arrived, I took a little bit of footage of them together, and then presumably the mother dived looking for fish, and the little chick went flying across, well, not flying, it paddled itself across to the opposite side of the lake. Of course, when the mum surfaced, she didn't know where the chick was. Anyway, the chick's now found the mum again, but she's gone flying off again. So, I keep saying flying, they don't fly, they paddle. And yeah, it's quite fascinating. But the other thing is that when I was here last, she had a number of chicks. And as is often the case, it would seem that she's only got one surviving, which is a bit sad. But there we go. I've seen that before here. I've seen mallards with a massive brood of chicks, and I've come back literally the next week, and there's only one left. So they suffer quite high rates of predation, I think. Here we go again. Oh, it's a good start. I got here a bit early today, by the way, about 9 o'clock. I thought, to be honest, it was going to be a lot busier, and I'm still astounded how few people are here on a day like this. I don't know what it is. I don't know if less people are coming to the caravan site because of all the sort of cost of living crisis and everything else that's going on in the world, or I don't know really, or whether some of the anglers have decided it's got a bit more difficult this lake. It certainly is quite a lot more difficult than when I first fished it years ago, certainly for the better fish. I'm quite enjoying catching these roach. I'm not complaining. I know it's a commercial and all that, and as people say, I can't puddle and all those sort of things, but I do like this lake. I think I've fished it for so many years, I've become quite familiar with it, and if anyone's read my little book, you will note from it that, and perhaps even the website mentions it, I can't remember now, that it really was where I came back into fishing after quite a long break. And when I first fished here, it certainly fished differently to it does now. I caught carp obviously, but I also caught a lot of tench. I caught crucian carp and roach, and yeah, it was marvellous really. It's different now, it's not as easy now. It's still easier than the clay pit though. Anyway, I'm going to be here quite a few hours, and the battery isn't inexhaustible on this cam, and at the moment I'm catching roach. Hopefully that will continue, but I'm going to flick off for now, and I'll come back if something more interesting develops, or just to give you an update where I am. Well, I'm back quicker than I expected. Nothing exceptional, but just to mention, I'm catching a roach every cast still, and the quality is definitely improving. I just got this one, and I thought I'd just put the video back on, because it's certainly as I say, the quality is definitely, or not the quality is the same, the actual size, not massive, but certainly nice fish. Yeah, they're definitely getting better. That is really a decent fish. Lovely. Look at that. I think that's rudd, isn't it? Certainly got all the characteristics of rudd. So I'm quite enjoying this. Well, I'm still catching a roach or rudd nearly every cast, and they're not a bad stamp of fish either. So it's really good fun. I've lost count already how many I've had. So and it's I've got here about 9ish. I started fishing about 1/4 past. I haven't been fishing an hour, so yeah, it really is good sport today. Probably won't carry on all day, but I'm making the most of it. That is amazing. The line was right around the top of my rod, and as I was trying to work it out, the maggots were sort of dangling just down beneath my feet, and this little fella took them. Unfortunately, he's so small and he's taking it right down. Oh dear. I flicked the video off just after I caught that little tiddler as I was untangling the line from around the top of my rod, because I'm afraid the RAF boys use this area for practice, and there were a couple of their jets going over, and boy oh boy, do they make a racket. Crikey, this feels like a much better fish. It's still a roach rudd, but yeah, took it on the way down, I think. More likely a rudd, but it feels it's really pulling. I'm having really incredible sport with these fish. It's every cast, it's quite amazing. Oh yeah, that is a nice fish, isn't it? I don't know how long this sport's going to last, but I can always try different tactics later for different fish, but at the moment it's quite amazing really. Just a few maggots thrown in every couple of casts, and yeah, it's super stuff. Yeah. Oh. This net's really a bit over the top for I need to disgorge it. Yeah. Starting to get interesting, aren't they? Yeah, that is a rudd, and it is a lovely fish. Absolutely beautiful. Whee. That's why I kept the net there, because I knew I was going to drop the thing. Anyway. Yeah, absolutely lovely. Yeah, okay. You better go back. Oh, by the way, just an update on the grebe family. I saw 2 chicks a little while ago, so one was obviously staying in shelter somewhere, but I've only seen 2. So it must be terribly confusing for grebe chicks. They go out with their mum and all of a sudden she vanishes and they look totally bewildered, and then she pops up about 30 yards away. Anyway, back to the fishing. Well, that last one was quite a nice rod, and now I've got quite a nice roach. Yeah, it's proving to be yeah, look at that. Trouble is, even though I'm striking on the bite, they are really hungry for this, because they're taking it right down. Yeah, let's put them in there. Yeah, they are feeding quite boldly, as you could say. Come here, come here. Yeah, look at that. Lovely. I have caught roach here in the past, but in the distant past, over a pound. Whether I can extract anything like that out of what is obviously a big shoulder, smaller fish, remains to be seen. Anyway, the fun continues. Well, this one just took the bait on the drop. It's made me wonder whether I ought to be fishing at mid-water rather than where I am, because this is a very nice fish. Oh, sometimes these little hooks are so difficult to get at. Yeah, that's a nice fish. It's a rod again, isn't it? But it took it on the drop, and the line went shooting away. Yeah, okay. Right, the drop shot's now much higher, so the bait will... Oops, that wasn't very good. Oh, I'll leave it there. The bait will drop more slowly. See what happens. Nothing. Perhaps that last one spooked them a bit. See, I'm not quite as far out as I usually go, so. That's better. Yeah. There's no way those maggots could have gone to the bottom, so they're obviously taking it on the drop. Yeah. We just had about 5 minutes or more of RAF jets manoeuvring above, and the noise was unbelievable. It was just like sitting through continuous thunder, and you can probably still hear them in the background. And the bites stopped, and I haven't had a bite all the way through that, whereas before I was getting bites regularly. So I think the sound vibrations, we know fish are very sensitive to sound transmitted through the water, and I think it's probably put them down for a while. It was just unbelievable. They must have been, I don't know what they were doing, sort of flying in circles overhead or whatever, but the noise was just unbelievable. So there's a bite. I was going to say my experiment about having the shot at mid-water didn't really get much chance to be played out, but well, this one was caught after the float had been in for a long time, so it couldn't be anything to do with the slow sinking bait, so probably that wasn't. The only thing that worries me is they keep taking it all the way down. I don't like this when they do this. I had a couple of attempts to restart recording, and each time the RAF jets came back. Absolute bedlam. So I think they've finally gone. I can't even hear them in the distance now. But things have slowed down a little bit. I'm still getting quite a few roach or maggot. I tried bread flake, and I think there was little ones pulling at the edge, because although I got bites I couldn't hit them. And I'm back on maggots. I've moved the shot back down again. I had moved it up the line, but I found that the bite indications were a bit delayed, and as a result I was hooking the fish quite deep. So I've moved the dropper shot down to nearer the hook again. Another nice roach. Oi, wow, that was only just on, wasn't it? Yeah, nice fish. You see the little grebe chick, its mum's disappeared under the water again. It's bleating away there, wanting feeding. It was following mum, and mum then vanished. Oh, she's over there now. It must be incredibly confusing for that little chick. She dives under and comes up about 20 or 30 yards away, and the little chick follows her around. Oh dear, oh dear. So confusing. They forecast a north-northeasterly breeze today, which would bring the apparent temperature down. Oh, that's done, yeah. Which would make it feel colder than it actually is, and it wasn't forecast to be that warm anyway. But to be honest, sitting in the sun here, it's lovely. And because I'm on the north side of the lake, northeast corner in fact, the northeast breeze is hopefully not going to affect me. You can see it's affecting perhaps the the water on the other bank there, but it should remain sheltered here, so it's all working out very well today. Right. That one's nicely hooked. Having said that, taking it down. I'm still catching the roach, but not as regularly as I was earlier, but quite worryingly I'm pulling out of a lot of fish. I've pulled out of a good half a dozen fish, which when it happens soon after I hook them, obviously has great risk of spooking everything. But a couple of them have felt, they're obviously still roach, they're not massive fish, but they've felt sort of better quality. Yeah, it's just weird. It may be I'm muscling them too hard in this fine hook, and if they're only hooked lightly in the mouth, it's going to pull out perhaps. I'm trying to get them away quickly from where I hooked them, and that's possibly it. Perhaps pulling a bit too hard, too fast. I've started fishing a bit closer to the reeds. I was getting better fish there. Brings with it the risk of a carp sticking its nose out and taking the bait, and then that'll be the end of everything, because I think I'm only on 3.5 pound line, so unless the carp decides to run out in the middle and tire itself out, there's not much chance I'll get it in. Oh, this feels a better fish. If this is a roach, it's a damn good roach. Doesn't feel big enough to be anything else though. Yeah, it is a roach. Let's try not to lose this one, shall we? Yeah, it's a nice fish. A helicopter now. We had the RAF here earlier. Is a nice fish, isn't it? It's probably the best of today. Oh, come out, hook. There we go. Yeah, it's probably the best one I've had today. Lovely. So I'm fishing a bit closer to the reeds. It is risky, because if you're going to get a carp, that's often where they patrol. Talking about carp, I haven't actually noticed the reeds knocking or anything today, and I half expected, you know, because we're sort of well into April, half expected to see some either cruising along the top or perhaps sucking around the reeds. I suppose the weather's been so up and down that they're not really into that quite yet. I'm quite surprised that, having fished this a couple of times now with maggot, which is something I haven't done much in the past, that I haven't picked up some more perch. I know there are perch in here, but there we are. Oh well. As I say, they're not biting as frequently. Oh, there we go. Oh, this looks a good one. There's some good fish down there. I mustn't muscle them too much on this little fine wire hook. I've got to be a bit careful because I keep pulling out of things. Oh, look, you go in there. Yeah, it's a bit like the last one, isn't it? Nice fish. This must have been the most peaceful day I've ever had at Field's End, you know. Other than when I fished it once in the middle of the winter when there was no one here. But there's really only two guys fishing here today. It's quite amazing. There's a little bit of a marking on that one, but it's a nice fish. It's always difficult to know what to do with when you're videoing your fishing, because obviously if you're out for 5 or 6 hours, I doubt there's many people out there want to watch a 5 or 6 hour video, so it's a matter of trying to record some good bits and stitching them together so it looks like something like a continuous fishing trip without having too many unnatural jumps in it. Well, you can probably see the grebe there with its chick. I don't know where the other chick is. It never seems to come out. I saw it once, but that was it. But anyway, the grebe just surfaced literally right next to my float. So it's obviously been fishing along this reed bed where I'm fishing. And I haven't had a bite for about the last 10 minutes, quarter of an hour, and that might well explain things. I'm in competition with a grebe. I think that probably would spook the fish with that thing swimming up and down. Yeah, so it's just gone 1 o'clock. I've been really catching those roach almost continually from just after 9 when I arrived, but I was starting to get smaller ones and the bites were becoming less frequent. Anyway, so I'll probably pack up about 3, and so what I decided to do is I took the float off. I've got 6 pound main line on this rod, or on this reel, and obviously I had a 3.5 pound hook length on. I've taken that off. I've tied a number 10 direct to the 6, and I just plonked out a piece of flavoured luncheon meat down the side of the reeds, and I'll see how that goes. And perhaps there are some carp. There's only 2 guys on the lake, to be honest, and the guy directly opposite me there has had a couple of carp out. I don't know how he's fishing, probably on the feeder or something, I don't know. But anyway, I've just got a simple ledger out with a bit of luncheon meat on, and if there are any carp patrolling around the margins in the next couple of hours, perhaps I can have a bit of different sport, but I'm not too hopeful actually, because there hasn't been hasn't been really any indication of carp moving around in these margins. You normally see the reeds knocking, but there's been nothing really. So I'll try this luncheon meat. I've got some worms. I can try a worm, and I can also put a bunch of maggots out. Just see what we get. So as I say, I've started on the luncheon meat. I'll give that 20 minutes or so, and then have a change of bait. There was no action on the luncheon meat. It's probably too big a bait at this time of the year, so I've recast a bit closer to the reeds this time, with a bunch of about, I don't know, 6 or 8 maggots on. So perhaps a big bunch of maggots would be more what the fish are looking for than big meat baits at this time of year. So, but so far, no action. So, as I say, I've caught enough roach really. I was catching them one after the other, and the last couple of hours might as well try for something different. Having said that I hadn't seen the reeds move today, I just saw where I'd been baiting with maggots where I was float fishing, and it may be just a roach, but the reed right at the extreme edge of the bank started knocking. So I've cast my ledger down where I was roach fishing, which is literally only about 10 feet away from here, and something pulled on it quite quickly, which was probably a roach, but I'm leaving it there just to see if anything else picks up. Well, change of plan again. As I'm now fishing very close, when I saw those reeds move, I thought I might as well go back on the float. I don't need the ledger to, but I'm still on the 6-pound line and the 10 hook, so if anything interesting takes, yeah, I can see those reeds moving. Oh, sod it. Bloody grebe got stuck up in the line. Well, that's done everything a lot of good, hasn't it? Jesus Christ. Obviously me attracting the fish is also attracting the grebe. Well, it's probably the end of everything now, to be honest. That might have been why the reeds were moving. Little fish tearing away from the... Anyway, that may keep him away or her away from me for a while. Oh, Robin's back. Can you see him? Getting a good feed today. Get the feeling he may be taking them back somewhere rather than eating them all. Yeah, I think that grebe's scared the life out of the fish. It's coming back again. Would you believe it? You thought it would have learnt its lesson. Obviously knows there's plenty of fish down here. Thanks to me baiting all day. Now it's just dived down again, so it's probably going to come up under my float again. I'm in my last hour now. What is it? It's 2:15. Going to pack up at 3. I've had some roach try to take the big bunches of maggots near the reeds here, but hooked one and got it in, and another one I pulled out of. But I've now tried a biggish lump of flake down there. I'm absolutely convinced there are carp moving around, but they may be moving but not feeding. I've just had 3, one after the other, bites on bread that have completely gone away. Oops, my line got caught on something. It wasn't so good, was it? And I didn't make contact with any of them. Weird. I'm in my last hour now, and I'm just hoping there might be a few carp sort of patrolling the margins here. Pick up one before I go perhaps, but I don't think it's going to happen now. I finally made contact with one of those bites on bread, and it turned out to be, I think, a roach. Quite a nice roach. But unfortunately I pulled out of it, so I didn't get it ashore. There's another bite. So I think they are roach. I don't think there are any carp feeding down there, because if there were, I'm sure one of them would have gobbled up this bread flake. But I think these are just roach trying to get that bread in their mouth, but most of the time not succeeding. Yeah, it's definitely roach, and they're playing around with it. It's not. Carp don't usually take like this, they just suck it in and go. Floats in an awkward place at the moment, in between the sort of reflection of the reeds and the clear water. A bit difficult to see. Yeah, completely under. Yeah. Anyway, so as I say, I'll be packing up soon. So it's a good day though, because I had a lot of roach. I lost count of the roach, some quite nice ones as well, and rudd. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to attempt anything bigger. Sounds like the RAF are coming back, so I better sign off, because it's going to get louder and louder. Oh dear. Well, that was a fitting ending to the day. The grebe just came up literally right next to my float again. So I'm afraid the grebe has been piggybacking my ground baiting and using my swim as a fishing spot. But as she's got a chicken toe, well, she's got two actually, but I don't know where the second one is. It seems to be staying in the nest all the time, because I suppose I can't be too upset if she's feeding her chicks, but it's a pain really. I'm beginning to wonder if the movements on the reeds are more down to her than anything else. Oh jeez. Anyway, this is my last cast, and then I'm going to pack up because it's 3 o'clock. Well, I don't know if you saw that, but the float just sunk completely and not a thing on the end. So that's the story of the last couple of hours really. As I say, I hooked into one that pulled out. That's about it. So that's about it. Right, been a lovely day though. Been lovely and peaceful, other than the RAF doing manoeuvres. But as I say, I think there's still only 3 of us on the lake, which is quite amazing at this time of the year. But there we are, that's it. So, well folks, that's it for today. Had a great morning catching roach and rudd, nearly 1 a cast, some quite nice fish as well. I think it must be getting nearly half a pound, a couple of fish I caught. Quite a lot of the fish I pulled out of, both on the 16 hook that I started on, and when I changed up to a 12 hook later on, in the hope of catching a carp perhaps in the margins. I was pulling out of roach on that as well. The carp didn't oblige, unfortunately. The conditions looked good. I thought there was a real good chance of tempting a carp, but luncheon meat, bread flake, luncheon meat was ignored completely by everything. The roach had a good go at the bread flake, but I just couldn't hook them. I pulled out of a couple. Yeah, so that was it really. So, but I really enjoyed today. Very, very peaceful here today. I've never seen this lake so quiet in the spring or the summer. It's just remarkable, really. As I said a couple of times during the video, there were really only 3 of us on the lake, which is amazing. The guy on the opposite bank has caught quite a few carp, probably 5 or 6, ledgering out by the island. But obviously today the margins weren't working. So, thanks for watching, as always, and give it a like if you like it, and if you haven't subscribed, obviously I would like you to. And until the next time I get out, it's bye for now.